Pep Guardiola and company very happy after their 3-0 victory. Joining us now for more, Nadim Anua, of course, former Manchester City player. We will certainly talk about City, Nadim. I'm going to give you your moment in just a second, but I feel like
did I just hear that press conference correctly?
Now,
this guy...
What stood out to you? The last year we had a lot of highlights?
Oh, no.
No.
Well, he's correct, but we're not in last year. We're in this year. What stood out to me there was when he said, we had a game plan and we went toe-to-toe up until the penalty. I mean, what planet is he living on? The only chance... they did create one right before half-time on their own. The only chances that Manchester United created on a breakaway came from Joseph Guardiola twice, the Phil Foden pass that we saw, and a Jack Grealish pass. Right? That's the only time. And it wasn't through very good pressing. It was through sloppy Man City play. The rest of the time, City totally controlled this. Now, I agree. Listen, City weren't fantastic in the first half. But let's not forget, twice, Onana saved last ditch on the line. Twice. A double save and then the Haaland header that he should have scored from. So, he's just now in the land of delusion with these press conferences because he's watched a different game. That's before we even get to his team selection, which we'll get to at some point.
You know, he says City weren't fantastic, but they were still miles ahead of Manchester United.
In football terms, it was men against boys. And he's saying the game plan. What, sticking 10 men behind the ball? Is that a new game plan?
And you can't even make the argument that it worked, because it could have been 2 or 3-0 at the half, right?
Correct.
Well, exactly. I mean,
if you're going to play not to lose...
21 shots, 10 on target, away from home, at supposed mighty Manchester United. And you think the game plan was going pretty well? No, I'm sorry, I'm with Craig. I'm not sure what game he was watching, because men against boys is just precise.
We're watching this, and this is the thing. This is not a surprise that we're sitting here and analysing a game that was not a game, really. Wasn't much of a game. I mean, I was quite hard a week or two ago on the Merseyside derby, because it really isn't much of a contest between the sides now, because Everton have been in a bit of disarray. This is sort of going that way, to some extent, and it was unsurprisingly dire from Manchester United. Now, we'll put it one way. If I'm a World Cup winner, right, and I don't know if Rafael Varane was injured or had a knock or was feeling unwell before the game, I'll hold my hands up. But when Ten Hag was asked about it, the team selection, he said, tactics. Now, Johnny Evans, in particular, has been a terrific professional. Terrific professional. But he didn't have a club 2 months ago.
Yep.
He was out of football. He was looking for somewhere to train. And he's in the side, in the biggest game in England, arguably, against the best player, best striker around in world football, and Erling Haaland. He's in the side in place of a World Cup winner. Where's the tactics in that? Tell me.
Manchester City then 3-0 over Manchester United. Nadim, want to bring you in now. What do you think of this? For me, the big takeaway is the gap between the two teams. Is that it for you?
Yeah, I would say so. I think when we saw the teams arrive before the game, you're sort of asking a few questions, thinking, well, what's the setup that United are going to go for? Why is Varane on the bench? Why does it look like they're going to be going with this sort of formation or this look? But then when you look at the Man City side, it made more sense. And I think some of their key players today, you know, with John Stones being back to full fitness, seeing Bernardo and Rodri in that midfield, I thought they were magnificent. And even though Ten Hag believes the first half was pretty even, I think it's fair to say that some of those chances that they got were because of City mistakes, barring the McTominay strike, which was a great save by Edison. Then, yeah, City, they never really looked like they were too flustered. They were quite calm overall, and they knew they could do better. And I think that's what we saw in the second half. And this is what it could be, this game. And for myself personally, I've seen many years where City have been the better side overall in that season, but have lost games at Old Trafford. But it just didn't seem like anything was there for United at all. And I think City stuck with their plan. And then by the end of the game, you're looking at it and they're frustrated. That's why they're kicking out some of the City players, getting yellow cards, because, if you can't beat them on the field, just try and fight them. And it was strange to see them be that sort of limp and weak in such a big game, especially given the passing of a legend just the last week. But then I guess, as we say, these are the positions that the two sides are in. And yes, United have injuries, but City have gone through a few changes as well. But they seem to be miles ahead of where United are right now. Ten Hag has belief in his side, but I think he seemed alone in thinking that.
They were as that game wore on, City were class. And I agree with Nathan fully. I mean, Bernardo Silva, we know, but Rodri, when he was out the side at Wolves and other games, there's just something missing. There is something, that link up between the back line, the full backs, the forwards. He does a bit of everything, this guy. He's so comfortable in the ball. He was terrific. But Manchester United, there's no getting away from. They were appalling. Absolutely appalling. And when he never had a left back, and I know he's got some injuries, when he didn't have a left back, he was playing a midfielder at left back. And we were all saying, well, you need to play Lindelof at left back, or somebody, at least who can do a bit of defending. Now that he has a left back, whether you like him or not, and Reguilon, he's still playing Lindelof at left back. I mean, and he's getting caught at the back post a couple of times, particularly in the first half.
I think more worrying for me would be the fact that when the second goal went in, the game was over. And Manchester United are at home. Where was the response from going 2-0 down? Not even, what was it? It wasn't even the 50th minute.
Is that on
the managers?
The game was over.
Or
is that on the manager or is that on the players?
Well, it's the manager's job to get the players into a mindset, regardless of what happens on the field, that at the very least, you give it every single thing you've got and you stand up to whatever's getting thrown at you. To me, it looked as though they downed tools because nobody got kicked, nobody made any challenges.
Anthony.
I'll just tell a lie.
Yes,
Anthony kicked Grealish.
Yeah.
Even Anthony almost missed as well.
On the kick, yeah.
So, where's that desire? Where's that fight? To play in a derby and you go 2-0 down and it's down in tools. No, that can't be right.
How many should Haaland have had, really? I mean, 4?
4.
What specifically does Ten Hag get wrong in the approach today? Because we were talking about it.
I was listening.
What did he get right?
I was listening to what has he got right this year? Listen. We've talked about this in the show, and I shout out. Yeah. I was listening to Lee Dixon on NBC, and he echoed what we've been saying is that there is no discernible pattern of play. As Stevie said, any Tom, Dick, or Harry can go in and stick 10 behind the ball and put a front man up. That's not exactly fantastic tactics.
Was it the wrong approach, though, against a team that's obviously much better than you?
Well, what was his approach? I mean, I just don't. Look, he's.
Well, he can't go toe-to-toe. Right, so...
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right, you can't go toe-to-toe, right.
But maybe not.
But when you turn round and say that you're playing Johnny Evans instead of Varane for tactical reasons, and then you stick 10 men behind the ball and just try and put up a wall, it's not some new tactic that you're trying to do because Johnny Evans has something that Varane doesn't. I mean, that's nonsense.
But hold on, we go back to this. What are they trying to do, though, in terms of the patterns they play? And you might say, well, it's Man City, one of the best team in Europe. Yeah, I'll get that. But what about their patterns they play against Burnley? When they took a Fernandes wonder goal to bail them out. What about the patterns they play against Sheffield United for an hour? Sheffield United were 1 point. They lost 8-0 to Newcastle, lost 5 again yesterday. We're out playing Man United. What about Wolves at home? The list goes on of teams that are in the bottom half of the league that they should more than easily go toe-to-toe with, that they've not been able to. This is a manager who now is talking in riddles. He's been from the start of the season since the Anana foul on Cunha, I think it was, or whoever it was, that should have been a penalty. He didn't recognise that. He didn't want to see it. He was talking in riddles. He's continued to do it for the bulk of the season. And look, please, let's not have this decision from VAR as an excuse for this result, because it wasn't. It was never going to be a contest. It was only a matter of time before City got their goal, whether it would be from a VAR decision or open play, and it was only a matter of time before Man City won this game. Look, he goes to his bench. We talk about Anthony. He brings on Anthony and Martial, two wasters. Two wasters. Anthony comes on. First thing he does, he blatantly kicks Docker. Then he's pouting around the field as if he's the big cheese. This is a guy, right, that'll cost almost 100 million, but yet the manager sees fit to bring a youngster in Garnacho, rightly so, on ahead of him. He should be embarrassed. He should be utterly embarrassed. So, we could sit here and wipe the floor with United all day, but we've been doing it since the start of the season, and Man United fans, you get a bit upset. No, they're absolutely dire. And that was shown today, and it's not a surprise, but to see it firsthand pan out the way it did just tells you how bad a situation it is at that football club.
I scoffed when you said, what did he get wrong? When I said, what did he get right? I can't think of one thing they got right. Not one. Even took Højlund off. The guy, I've just been saying that to me, there were too many players that had lost the desire at 2-0. If there was one guy on the field who kept going, it was Højlund, and he took him off.
Stop.
Let's go back to Nedum's point. Blatant. He's talking about the blatant ones. That's blatant. The ones he's talking about before, where both players are holding, there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Nobody wants to see every single one of them given. But when it's blatant, like it was on Rodri, and like it was on Araujo, that's when they should be given. There shouldn't be any. We shouldn't be having an argument of who's heading the ball or who's going for it. It's a blatant foul. And when it's blatant, there is no excuse for not giving it. And there's no excuse that Araujo didn't get a penalty out of that.
Now that's a different league, clearly, obviously, stating the obvious. And they officiate, rightly or wrongly, slightly differently, right? But the Premier League now, Michael Oliver was the VAR, Paul Tierney was the referee. Right, two very experienced officials. We're quite a way into the season, but they've set a standard now in a big game worldwide today, global, the Manchester Derby. There's a standard been set for the Premier League and what is going to be given and what should not. And that has to be adhered to going forward. And if it is, I don't think Man United fans, Man City fans, or anybody can have any complaints. But they have to now referee the game in that manner, with these kind of decisions, with pulling back in the box, because they have the technology to do it. There is no excuse. The bar has been set, and let's see defenders that do that week in, week out, be punished. And then we'll start to see some proper defending, and players will know they're not going to get away with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes from here. You're right to mention it's on a global stage, so they really do set a precedent. Nedum, last word on this to you.
Yeah, well, I think the penalty is a clear penalty, and I think this is an indictment on where United are so far this season. Obviously, you could say they've got some players out, essentially a back four. But realistically, some people arrived at that stadium with hope, but very quickly, it wasn't just the scoreline that depressed them, it was the manner of the performance. You look at United today, they tried to play out from the back, and it felt like City were more dangerous when United had the ball. Whereas for City, when they had the ball, most of the decisions were great. And in the end, it felt like a stroll in the park at Old Trafford, which is something that most of us never thought we'd see in our lifetime.
Nedum, I got to give you a moment to talk about Manchester City here. They really made it look easy.
Yeah, they did. They really, really did. I think the key guy, as you can see, is Rodri in terms of dictating that tempo. But then when you see Bernardo Silva in there as well, and a fully fit John Stones stepping into midfield, it was so good. I thought Grealish played well. I thought Foden played well. I think lots of them did. There were a few nerves early doors, maybe with Guardiola, but realistically, the way they played, it was so good. That was them at their free-flowing best, and it asked so many questions of United. And they didn't really have the answers. And as I say, fair play to them. They went through a bit of a sticky spell for a couple of weeks back there. But if they play like this, they're definitely, without a doubt, got more to come. And then just if they can stay afloat until maybe December time, then in comes one Kevin De Bruyne, who, as we've seen, is one of the best players in the world still. And they seem to be doing fine without him for now.